Hi guys, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. What you see in the vise this week is a black hopper. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H230 barbless hook. This one's at size 10, it's on a medium wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Semperfi. It's nano silk at 12/0 and as you can see it's red. As always with the nano silks, I'm going to get a touch of super glue onto the shank of the hook, like so. And then what I'm going to do is use my silk just to spread that up the shank. I'm going to then catch in just behind the eye of the hook and get a bed of silk down onto the shank. As I get just past the point, I'm going to take away my rat's tail and I'm going to come back in open turns to approximately 2 or 3 millimeters back from the eye. Now the ribbing I'm going to be using is from Textreme. It's called Magic Tinsel. Now the one I'd like to use I've run out of, so what I'm using is this much thicker stuff here. Now the reason it's called Magic Tinsel is you can stretch it out. It's shiny on one side and it's darker red on the other side. So if I want to use the shiny side, which I do on this occasion, that's got to tie down onto the shank first. And I'll just catch that in where I've parked my thread there. It's taking a little bit of doing, but we've managed, and I'm going to just in touch and turns trap that red in quite firmly. Now as we get nearer and nearer the month of September, dry flies and terrestrials will be hitting the water, and the black hopper is one of my favourites, and this is a particularly effective pattern when fish dry or subsurface. I'm just using my thumb and forefinger to stretch that out now to make it a little thinner. Really does give a nice subtle finish to the fly, this rib. Okay, we're going to use seal's fur to create the body, and this one is from Trout line. I've had it for many years. I don't even know if they produce it anymore, but what I like about this dubbing, it's seal's fur with some synthetic materials through it. I don't know how well you can see it in the light, but it has like purples and stuff. But it's something that you can mess around with and make yourself. You just get some purple dubbing, synthetic dubbing, and some black seal's fur and mix it together. You can do it by hand, or if you're of a mind to and you intend to do quite a lot, you can also do it in an old coffee grinder. Works quite well. You pick one up for the charity shops. Okay, so I've dubbed on quite a generous amount of seal's fur there, and I'm going to come up the body, and I've just not put enough on, but that's fine. I can add a little more. I always find it's easier to add than try and strip it off your thread once you've dubbed it on. So let's just get another little bit onto the thread, like so. I do want quite a bit of room at the front, but not as much as I had there. So that's looking okay. Now the next thing is to bring the rib firstly around the shank of the hook. So the first turn is onto the shank, so I've got a bit of a butt, if you like, and then what I'm looking for is a round, oops, it just slipped off there, I'll come back, is a round 3 turns of rib. And that was just about a disaster there. I don't know if you noticed, but I did catch the point of my hook. If that had been pheasant tail or peacock quill, that would have just snapped there. So I've got my 3 turns that I want, so I'm going to bring this over onto the shank at the front, and I'll get a couple of turns over the material, a few turns in front. Then I can come in with my scissors and simply remove my excess. Now at this point, and because the rib is so firm, I can come in with my brush and really rip out them seal's fur fibres. I like to get this as scruffy as possible when I'm going to use it as a dry fly, and on this occasion that's what this fly is going to be used as, a dry fly. So by releasing all these seal's fur fibres, it will just hold any floating that I intend to use, and there'll be a bit more about that towards the end of the video. So as we can see, we've developed a nice little body there which is going to hold the floating and keep that, help keep that anyway, in the surface film. There we go. Unless you're fishing it on a sinking line, of course, and then it's going to go under the water eventually. But we've got that ready to go. So next I want to add my legs. First thing I'm going to do is to invert my vise. For the legs I'm using pre-knotted pheasant tail. Now you can buy these in various natural colours, and obviously as you can see here this one's black. I want to take approximately 6 legs off the stem. Now when I show this up to the fly, you can see I've split the 6 into two groups of 3, and what I want to do is get them either side off the hook. Now a lot of people, I've seen this, tie their legs on top, which I don't quite understand. My legs aren't on my shoulders, and why would a fly's be on its head? So always tie your legs in underneath, that's where they belong. As for length, that varies. I like to have my knots, my first knots just towards the end of the body, and a little bit of trailing leg behind, but you'll find your own way, your own personal preference. That's the beauty of tying your own flies. It's up to you what you want to do. Once I've got them secured in, I can come in and remove the legs. Just going to use my thumb to just ease them into position. I want them just sitting up alongside the body. Well, not alongside, but just so it's not prominently hanging down. That looks about right to me. So far so good. Now, the hackle. You can use any black clock cape. What I've got here is a grizzle cape. I've already selected a feather from it, and what I need to do is get rid of this thicker part of the stem down here. I'm going to come in with my thumb and forefinger, pinch down on the feather, and then simply remove that excess. Now that's a little long for my needs, so I'll just take a bit off. So I've now got a little stalk to tie in. First thing I want to do is just get some wax onto the silk. Now that's going to help hold the stalk in place while I tie it in. So get a good grip on the stalk, and you can be fairly firm here. The nano silk will give you a bit of comfort that your thread won't snap. And what I want to do is just bring that feather out to the side. 90-degree angle from the shank, and then I'm going to come in with my hackle pliers. Now a feather this length you would probably get away with not using hackle pliers, but I just feel you get a little bit more control. Each turn I just want to ease out the fibres of the hackle. You don't want them all clumping together. So each time I bring a turn over, I'm just easing that out. And I'll come all the way around. Now hoppers are a great fly. They work as a dry fly, they work as a wet fished subsurface. They're just a really versatile fly, and in September I wouldn't be without these in my box, to be honest. They can be absolutely lethal. I would fish a couple of these together, just on one cast, maybe some bits and bobs in between a 4-fly cast, but certainly one to have readily available. So I've now got my hackle secured in. You can see the stems hanging off here. What I want to do next, and this is crucial for this fly, I'm going to lick my thumb and forefinger in my left hand. I'm going to come over the eye. I'm going to pull up and back. So down and under, sorry, let's see if I can get this a bit clearer. Down and under, up and back. So here we go. And the reason for this is I want to lift the hackle from the bottom of the fly. I'm going to just use my thread now to tidy up the front, start building up a little head. It takes a while with nano silk at 12/0, but we've got there in the end. Once you've got that head in place, you can grab your excess feather, and what you'll notice now is the bulk of that hackle has now come to the top of the fly. There is still some stuff hanging down below, and we're going to address that in a moment. I'll just get my my whip finish tool and finish off the fly. Now I don't want to add a whole lot of varnish to this, or resin or glue or whatever it is you want to use as your poison. But I'm going to turn the fly upside down now and have a look at the profile. Now what you see is I've got some of these looser fibres that are hanging right down. Now once you've used your various floatants, if you have fibres down here like this, all it does is allow the fly to stand on the water instead of sitting on the top of the water. So if I can just get this up as an example, what I want this fly to do is be sitting like this in the water surface. I don't want it standing up like our traditional wet. So we've done that, and I'm just going to put the tiniest touch of super glue on the head. It's not going to be a fancy fly that's going to be kept in a box for display purposes. That's just going to make sure my whip finish is secure. Now, before I put this in my box, what I always do is I've used various things, liquid muslin, but today I'm going to be using some Hunts up high, and I just treat the fly prior to it going into the fly box. Now the reason for this is it gets plenty of time to dry out, and the secondary reason, I suppose, is when you're on the water, especially if you're a comp angler and you want to just switch to dries, this just saves you a little bit of time. So remember, we fluffed out that body, and I'm just treating all them little fibres now, and that's ready to go. Just give it a last spruce up. Then once that dries, it's good to go. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.